Ethiopia, one of the oldest Christian kingdoms, had existed in one form or another since ancient times. However, during the 19th century, foreign powers started encroaching into the nation. In 1868, Emperor Tewodros II captured European missionaries and held them hostage, so the British sent a rescue expedition into Ethiopia and the emperor committed suicide. Around the same time, an Italian shipping company purchased the land around Assab from a local sultan, and Italians began to emigrate to the region. From 1874 to 1876, the Ethiopians had to fight off an Egyptian invasion, and a decade later they had to fight the Mahdists from Sudan. During this war, as the Egyptians retreated, the Italians expanded into Massawa, angering Emperor Johannes IV, who was promised the city by the British. In response, an Ethiopian general, Alula, took his forces to meet the Italians in 1887. The Italians were defeated at the Battle of Dogali, and the Italian public was outraged and called for revenge. Then, 2 years later, as the Italians began to establish protectorates in Somalia, Emperor Johannes IV was killed successfully fighting off the Mahdists, and he was succeeded by Menelik II. In coming to power, Menelik conquered a lot of land and continued to expand the borders of Ethiopia, and shortly after taking power, he signed the Treaty of Wuchale with the Italians, which gave them the right to rule over Eritrea. However, when the treaty was translated, there was a vital difference. In Amharic, it said the emperor could choose to deal with foreign powers through Italy. However, the Italian translation said Ethiopia would become an Italian protectorate. So, with the Italians not backing down from the treaty, Menelik began encouraging rebellions against the Italians in 1894 and 1895, but both resulted in Italian victories. The Italian general at the battles, Baratieri, returned to Italy a hero, and he promised to bring Menelik home in a cage. However, Menelik had been purchasing weapons from European powers, and he even gained international support from the Russians. And he had also prepared nearly 200,000 men for combat. So by late 1895, when the Italians moved into Ethiopia, Menelik felt secure in finally challenging them. The first battle took place in December at Amba Algi, an Italian forward operating base. The Ethiopians crushed the 2,000 Italians and their Eritrean allies, and this prompted the Italian Prime Minister Crispi to send 200 million lira to the war effort. Then, a month later, the Ethiopians moved to Mekele and defeated the Italians again, forcing them to retreat from the fort they were constructing. Throughout February, the Italians avoided fighting the Ethiopians as Baratieri knew that their large army was running short on supplies and wanted to wait until their numbers had dwindled. However, Prime Minister Crispi sent a telegram to him and, for political reasons, demanded that he attacked. So, on March 1st, 1896, the Italians met the Ethiopians at the Battle of Adwa. The Italians, who numbered around 17,000, were devastated by a 120,000 strong Ethiopian army. This was the first time in modern history that an African army decisively beat a European army. The Italians, now facing the prospect of the Ethiopians pursuing them into Eritrea, sued for peace, repealing the Treaty of Wuchale. This meant Ethiopia would be one of the only African nations to remain independent throughout the scramble for Africa, and it became the centre of the Pan-African movement. And with his new strength and independence, Menelik continued to expand Ethiopia throughout his reign. Italy did manage to gain some territory in the peace deal, and went on to secure their control over Eritrea and even Somalia, but the humiliation led to riots and the resignation of Crispi. However, nearly 40 years later, Fascist Italy would go on to conquer Ethiopia.